What's up YouTube? Daniel Carter at AfroHerpkeeper here. Guess what? It's allergy season here in Central Texas, which means that for the past week and a half, my sinuses have been congested, my head has not been clear, and I have been suffering. However, despite all that, here I am at this table in front of y'all, bringing you the content that you deserve on a regular basis. If you happen to peruse into the comment section of my previous video about herping for slimy salamanders, you may have seen me make a false promise. We're about to have a kitten on the table. Hi, Izzy. I promised y'all that I would come out this week with a brand new reptile room tour, and unfortunately nature has had it against me. As you can hear, my sinuses are in fact congested, and I have just not been able to fulfill that promise. I had about half of it filmed and ready to go before these allergies struck me, and over the last week or two I just haven't been able to get the rest of that filmed and ready to go. However, here I am, and today, to make up for this delay, I am here to present to you some of the brand new additions to my group of animals that I have obtained in the meantime since the last reptile room tour. I'm sure quite a few of you have met my giant African bullfrog. You've met the fish scale gecko that lives in this enclosure. Those are animals that I've already made videos on, even though they weren't featured in the last reptile room tour. I won't be covering them here. But we have a total of 5 animals to look at today, comprising 3 different species. They're all a little bit different from stuff that I've owned before, so strap in, because without any further ado, we are going to meet some fantastic new animals.
My life is a bit of a mess, but I like it that way. Between juggling school, work, dozens of animals, and a constant drive to explore, things can get pretty hectic. But one thing always stays the same: a burning passion for wildlife and a desire to preserve the biodiversity of our world through public education, conservation, and animal care. My name is Daniel Carter, and you're watching AfroHerpkeeper.
So before we actually meet any of these animals, I'd like to make a quick statement and address any concerns that a select few viewers may have. If you've been around on my channel long enough, you'll know that my living situation has changed dramatically over the last year. At the time of my last reptile room tour, I had actually brought a bunch of my animals to an elementary school and to a friend's house. These were foster homes that would take care of the animals for my first year of college, because I wouldn't be here, home, very often. That has changed, and I'm back living here until I get my own apartment. So despite the fact that I moved some of my animals, and they will still be moving back in with me, I have plenty of time to care for all of the animals here, and I've had the ability to bring in some new animals into the mix. I just wanted to make that point for anyone who might call me hypocritical for moving a bunch of animals out and then immediately moving some back in. Now, our first new critter down here is an aquatic one you may not have expected me to obtain. This is an electric blue crayfish. It's a member of a crayfish species found in Florida that has naturally obtained an electric blue coloration. I'm not sure if you would call it a morph or a subspecies, but it's something available in the aquarium trade. As you can see, there are also an absurd number of guppies in this enclosure with him, and that gives you an indicator of where he's living. He has been in my 10-gallon guppy breeding tank. I have him cohabiting with many guppies, which serve as feeders for some of my animals such as my garter snakes, or as part of the cleanup crew in my turtle enclosures. As you may be able to see and hear, this beautiful little mud bug is none too happy to be handled. He's not interested in this activity in the slightest, so try as I might, I'm not going to stress him out and get him out here, but I will get some nice shots for you. I'm sure you're seeing them right now. Oh, I should mention, his name is Blue Jeans. He's a beautiful little animal. I absolutely love the coloration on him, the beautiful purple accents mixed in there with the blue. And when he's not freaking out like this, when he's actually on display in his tank, he is a sight to behold. When I brought him home, I was really just looking to get a nice centerpiece display type animal in my functional guppy tank. Really beautiful little fella. I love crayfish in general. They are fantastic little critters. The second animal I've got down here is one that hordes of commenters have asked me to acquire, and as I've stated before, I will never obtain an animal because of what a commenter asks or demands of me, but this is a rescue animal that I acquired for free from a mother whose son lost interest in it, and she just wanted it to go to a good, experienced home. A staple of the reptile trade, this big, chunky fella is an adult male leopard gecko. And now, while I'm normally somewhat impartial to leopard geckos, or Leos as they're called, this guy is massive, he's chunky, and he is beautifully colored. As far as I know, he is a high yellow morph. He's got some lovely jaguar spots on his tail, though it is regenerated at the tip. And he's got a whole lot of spunk and a whole lot of character in him. As you can see, he's not too great with handling, that's due to his previous owners, but he does allow just barely enough handling for me to get some beautiful shots of him. He is just a tad overweight, again, that's because of his previous owners. I'm trying to bring this guy's weight down while still giving him a balanced diet. He is a spunky little guy, and I've really fallen in love with him. I wasn't sure if I was going to keep him permanently when I acquired him, but I think I am, just because he is such a character. In addition to that, he's set up in a 20-gallon long aquarium, which is larger than what he came in. He came in a 10-gallon. And this is an aquarium that I've retrofitted into a fully bioactive desert setup. It has excavator clay making up the backdrop. In the foreground, it has a mixture of organic soil and sand. He's got some pieces of cork bark, some grapevine. I'm looking at it behind the camera right now. I'm sure you're seeing it right now. There are 3 species of succulent and 1 aloe vera in there. There are a few natural accents, some white-tailed deer vertebrae, and a big chunk of quartz. And of course he's got his food and water dish in there as well. He's trying to climb out on me. I can't let you do that, buddy. You'd get lost. I bet Blue down there would eat you. So his enclosure could not be called bioactive if it did not incorporate all the natural elements of a bioactive enclosure. So in addition to everything I mentioned, he's got some oak leaf litter on the floor and a cleanup crew to help deal with his waste, comprised of isopods, superworm beetles, mealworm beetles, and dubia roaches. In addition to those cleaning up his waste, he gets to pick them off from time to time. And as he is a big, healthy adult animal, there's absolutely no risk of him getting impacted by all the loose substrate in there. And just because of this guy's spunk, his character, his coloration, and his setup, I do think I'm going to be keeping him long term. So this big boy is going to go back on the ground, and we are going to bring out our last species. And as you might have been able to deduce, if you can do basic math, there are 3 individuals in the container I'm about to bring up here. So, these cheapy little fellas are all button quail chicks. As you can see, though they are descended from dinosaurs, they retain none of the personality traits that you would associate. Woo, boy! Alright, I made a mistake. There's a quail in my windowsill and a tegu on the floor. I'm getting a net. I got him. This is the male. These quail have grown tremendously in the last couple weeks, and their flying capabilities are much better than what I thought they were. I'm going to put him back, and we are going to continue on as if nothing happened. Okay, we're leaving the lid on. I will bother with close-up shots in post. So these little fellas are all button quail. They're about 2 weeks old at this point, and this is the smallest species of quail in the world. They originate from China, and as adults they can still fit in the palm of your hand. They're absolutely tiny. Though they're terrified of me, they also have a very short-term memory span, so if you sit there and watch them for a couple minutes, they completely forget that you're there, and they start going about their quail activities. And they are very cute, and they all have personalities. In addition, I bought these guys because as adults, the females will lay tiny eggs, which are packed with protein, excellent for blue-tongued skinks, tegus, and other egg-eating reptiles and amphibians. Now, given a recent video I uploaded featuring this African bullfrog to my right, you may think that these quail are going to be used as feeders themselves. However, that is not the case. If you'll allow me to explain myself, I was originally given by the breeder 3 tiny baby quail. One of them had a pre-existing injury when I bought it, and unfortunately it didn't make it past its 4th day. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't want any animal to go to waste, and I believe it is just as respectful to put that animal back to use and let its energy go into another creature and continue the cycle of life as it is to give that animal a proper burial or something of that sort. So I started out with 3 quail. I lost one. That quail was replaced by the breeder a couple weeks ago, and I still have those 3 today. They're all doing fantastic, they're growing phenomenally, and it's maybe a couple weeks until they have their full adult plumage. 2 of them are the natural color phase. I'm pretty sure I have 1 male and 2 females, and one of those females is a silver phase. These little baby birds are the first avian addition to my animal menagerie, and hopefully you'll be seeing a lot of them in the future. So if you're just here for the new animals, you can click away now, but if you have an actual interest in me and my channel, you should stay because I've got some really cool announcements about upcoming content and my future plans as well. So all of these enclosures behind me on this rack, as you can see, for the most part, they are completely empty. There's 3 on the rack right now that actually have stuff in them. But this is my future breeding project rack. These Exoterra enclosures up top will house our Boreal Geckos. These guys will house terrestrial geckos, and these custom-built tanks behind me will house slightly larger lizards, possibly alligator lizards, abronia, or dwarf monitors like kings and palabra rock monitors. I've got a lot of lizard breeding projects planned, and I'm really excited to see where that'll go. I've been overhauling all of my enclosures pretty much, trying to create as many bioactive natural setups as possible. I've ordered so many LED lights in the last few months, it's insane. I'm also building up a group of roach species, cockroach species. As gross as they may be to some, I find them fascinating, and being cockroaches, they're super easy to breed, so they make for a good source of income and a good steady supply of feeders for some of my insectivorous animals. Additionally, something I've got coming up for the channel is my very first sponsorship. I've turned down a few offers in the past from just random companies who just send out mass emails to YouTubers because I don't think y'all are interested in caffeine pills, but I have finally received a welcome sponsorship that I will be doing some videos on in the coming weeks. It's something that I'm excited about. It's with a company called Tanked Modern, which is a startup out of San Marcos, Texas. They will be supplying me with 2 of their custom acrylic and PVC enclosures. I'll be choosing some animals out of my own, or maybe even getting some new animals to put into those enclosures. But they're really cool, and I'm excited to work with that company. It's going to be a good time, I promise. The videos will not be overbearing. They will be very entertaining. Additionally, I haven't worked out the details of this. I may be doing a number of videos with a local venom lab, which is where they take rattlesnakes, copperheads, and even non-native venomous snakes, and they milk them for their venom for use in anti-venom and other medical research. I'm really excited about that because I want to do a lot of outreach and education with native venomous snakes regarding the purpose they have in our ecosystem and how we can safely coexist with them. In addition to that, I'll have a standard flow of content going about my animals, my collection, maybe some videos on preserving deceased animals. Right here, I've got the skeleton of an adult female Cuban tree frog, which I articulated myself. In here, in this jar, are some geckos I preserved in a video a long time ago, and I have some more animals in my freezer that have passed away that I may be doing something with. My stance on displaying animals after they've passed is that it's just as respectful to use that animal for educational purposes and continue to admire its beauty even after death, rather than the sort of out-of-sight, out-of-mind approach with putting it in the ground or flushing it down the toilet. I'll also have a few videos where I release or relocate animals, and hopefully a few videos where I go herping with some friends in the near future. As always, it is an absolute pleasure running this channel with y'all. I am astonished, amazed, and incredibly humbled and grateful to have made it to the point where I am today. I believe, if we haven't already, we're about to hit 55,000 subscribers, and that number is growing every single day. I continue to be amazed and humbled. and I really hope that number continues to rise. At some point I hope that it begins to rise even faster than it is now, because I'd like to reach a much broader audience than I am today. If you can help me with that in any way, please feel free. But until next time, I'm Daniel Carter at AfroHerpkeeper. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. If you'd like to see more reptile and amphibian related content in the future, feel free to hit the subscribe button. And if you have any questions about this video or reptiles and amphibians in general, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Thanks very much for watching.